As men move into their later years, often in their 60s, 70s, and beyond, many choose to live on their own, without a romantic partner. From the outside, this lifestyle is frequently misjudged. People assume isolation, regret, or unhappiness, but those assumptions don't always match reality. A retired 69-year-old man named Cameron once overheard someone remark, "He must be so lonely living by himself." Cameron simply smiled. He knew that statement couldn't be further from the truth. For him, living alone was not a symbol of loss. It was a reflection of understanding. Today on Wise Seniors, we uncover the real story behind older men who live alone without a woman, and explore 5 eye-opening realities that seniors and families need to understand. Before we begin, remember to subscribe to the channel where we share honest, respectful insights about aging and life after 60. Reality 1. Many older men living alone aren't lonely, they're intentional. One of the most persistent myths about aging men is that living alone automatically means loneliness. Society often equates being alone with being abandoned or emotionally unfulfilled. But for many older men, solitude is not something that happened to them. It is something they consciously chose. After decades of marriage, parenting, careers, friendships, and social obligations, many senior men reach a stage where they understand themselves more clearly than ever. They know which relationships nourish their spirit and which quietly drain them. Instead of seeking constant companionship, they begin seeking peace. In earlier years, life demanded noise, conversations, conflicts, roles requiring emotional presence. As men age, that pressure lifts. They realize they no longer need to fill every moment with activity to feel alive. Silence stops feeling uncomfortable. It becomes meaningful. Cameron described silence not as emptiness, but as relief. When he wakes alone, there is no tension, no emotional expectation, no pressure to perform. There is simply space. Space to think, breathe, and move at his own pace. That space feels healing. Psychology supports this. Research shows a crucial difference between loneliness and chosen solitude. Loneliness is painful. Solitude, when chosen, brings emotional clarity and reduced stress. Older adults who decide how and when to engage with others report greater stability than those constantly surrounded by unwanted stimulation. Another shift happens with age: selectivity. Older men become far more careful with their energy. They enjoy company only when it feels meaningful. Small talk loses appeal. Forced interactions feel draining. They prefer a deep conversation, a quiet walk, or reflection alone. This selectivity is not antisocial. It is emotional maturity. Peace is found not in the number of relationships, but in their quality. Many older men would rather be alone than be around people who demand emotional labor without understanding in return. Society often misinterprets this choice, judging aging through a youthful lens. In youth, being alone can feel like missing out. Later in life, it can feel like coming home to oneself. Absence of constant interaction is not a void, but freedom. For these men, living alone is not withdrawal. It is engagement on their own terms. They connect intentionally. They care selectively. And they feel deeply, without needing constant validation. When an older man chooses to live alone, it is often not because he lacks connection, but because he understands it. He has learned that peace is precious, energy is limited, and not every silence needs filling. Living alone in this context is not a sign of loneliness. It is a sign of clarity. Reality 2. Living alone can create emotional freedom. Another surprising truth about older men: living alone is the profound sense of emotional relief that often comes with independence. Without the constant expectations, compromises, or negotiations that relationships sometimes demand, daily life can feel lighter, calmer, and more manageable. This isn't a reflection of resentment toward women. It's a reflection of maturity and self-awareness. Over the course of decades, men carry responsibilities, careers, parenting, social roles, and relational dynamics that require constant emotional energy. Every interaction can carry an implicit expectation, whether it's providing reassurance, managing conflict, or maintaining appearances. As they age, many men realize they no longer need to perform for others or justify their choices. They are free at last to prioritize their own emotional well-being. This freedom allows them to experience life without the tension of constantly navigating other people's feelings. Cameron explained that living alone gave him a space where he could respond to life on his own terms, without compromise. He no longer felt drained by emotional labor that once seemed unavoidable. The sense of control over his own emotional environment brought a quiet confidence and inner peace. Research supports this experience. Studies show that reduced stress in later life improves heart health, sleep quality, and mental clarity. Freed from constant relational pressure, men often feel less anxiety, experience fewer mood swings, and develop a stronger sense of self-worth. Emotional freedom isn't just the absence of stress, it's the presence of choice, clarity, and autonomy. Moreover, living alone encourages reflection and personal growth. Freed from external demands, older men often reconnect with hobbies, passions, and practices that nurture their emotional health. Whether it's reading, walking, cooking, or volunteering, these activities provide fulfillment without dependence on others' approval. It's important to note that emotional freedom doesn't mean isolation. Many men maintain meaningful connections with friends, family, or community. The difference is that these relationships are entered into intentionally, rather than out of obligation. When men choose their interactions, they conserve emotional energy and strengthen bonds that are truly meaningful. For families, this is an essential truth to understand. Choosing solitude should not be mistaken for loneliness or detachment. Often, it is a healthy decision that supports well-being, independence, and happiness in later life. Living alone gives men the space to define their own rhythm, honor their needs, and cultivate a life aligned with their values. If you're finding value in this discussion, subscribe to Second Life Circle for more perspectives on how seniors can redefine happiness, peace, and emotional fulfillment after 60. Reality 3. Independence often improves self-care. One of the most surprising benefits of living alone later in life is the positive impact it can have on self-care. Families often assume that older men living independently will struggle to maintain routines, skip meals, or neglect their health. Yet for many, the opposite is true. With full control over their daily schedules, men become more attuned to their bodies, moods, and energy levels. They can eat when they are hungry, rest when they feel tired, and organize their day around what truly suits them, not the demands of others. Cameron's experience illustrates this perfectly. After moving into his own apartment, he began a daily walking routine, rediscovered the joy of cooking simple, wholesome meals, and noticed he slept more soundly than he had in years. The freedom to structure his life according to his own needs didn't lead to laziness. It fostered accountability. By taking ownership of his routine, Cameron became more consistent, more mindful, and more in touch with his physical and mental health. Independence encourages reflection and intentionality. Men who live alone often learn to recognize early warning signs in their health and take action before small issues become larger problems. They may schedule regular checkups, maintain exercise routines, or simply make time to rest when necessary. Without the pressure to meet someone else's expectations, self-care becomes less of a chore and more of a personal choice. A way to honor oneself. Psychologists have noted that autonomy in daily life is strongly linked to better health outcomes. Older adults who feel in control of their routines report lower stress, improved cardiovascular health, and higher life satisfaction. When men can manage their environment, diet, and activity levels independently, they often develop habits that are both sustainable and deeply satisfying. Independence also provides mental clarity. The ability to follow one's own schedule reduces the stress of constant negotiation and compromise, freeing mental energy for personal growth, hobbies, and meaningful activities. Cameron, for example, found that his days felt more productive and his mind more focused when he no longer had to adjust constantly to others' routines. It's important to note that self-care in solitude is an active, intentional process. Living alone does not automatically improve health. It is the choice to take responsibility for one's life that creates positive outcomes. Many older men thrive in this environment because it empowers them to make decisions for themselves and prioritize what truly matters to their well-being. For families, understanding this truth can ease unnecessary worry. Choosing independence does not mean neglect. It often means embracing self-respect, balance, and mindfulness. Living alone gives men the freedom to care for themselves in ways that feel natural, sustainable, and deeply rewarding. Reality 4. Love still exists. It just looks different. Living alone does not mean living without love. Many older men maintain deep, meaningful connections with friends, children, neighbors, and community groups. What changes is the form that love takes. Affection doesn't disappear, it evolves. It becomes quieter, steadier, and less demanding, yet often more fulfilling than in earlier years. For men like Cameron, living alone allowed him to focus on relationships that mattered most. Rather than feeling obligated to maintain every connection, he discovered that love could be expressed through small, deliberate acts, checking in on a friend, calling a grown child, volunteering at a community center. These expressions of care carried weight far beyond the constant demands of romantic or familial expectations. Some older men enjoy companionship without commitment. They may meet friends for coffee, take long walks with a companion, or share occasional dinners without the pressures of a partnership. Others find meaning in friendship, mentorship, or acts of service, helping neighbors, engaging in community projects, or supporting causes they care about. Through these interactions, they experience the joy of giving and receiving, love without the emotional labor that can come with romantic entanglements. Society often equates romantic involvement with emotional fulfillment, but psychology shows that meaningful connections are not limited to romance. Humans thrive on bonds of trust, empathy, and shared experiences, and older men can cultivate these in countless ways. A quiet afternoon, spent talking with a longtime friend, can be just as emotionally nourishing as any romantic relationship. In many ways, love becomes more intentional with age. It is no longer about obligation or societal expectation. It is about choosing relationships that are reciprocal and enriching. Men living alone can devote energy to connections that bring joy rather than drain it, and they can set boundaries without guilt. For families, understanding this shift is critical. Misinterpreting the absence of a partner as loneliness or emotional emptiness can lead to unnecessary worry. Instead, recognizing that love simply looks different later in life allows families to support independence while celebrating the ways men still experience meaningful relationships. Before continuing, consider subscribing to Wise Seniors. Understanding these realities helps families replace worry with trust and helps seniors honor their own choices while maintaining rich, fulfilling connections. Reality 5. Peace becomes the priority. Perhaps the most misunderstood truth is this: many older men living alone feel more peaceful than at any other time in their lives. With age comes clarity. Time feels more valuable. Conflict, drama, and uncertainty lose their appeal. Living alone allows men to protect their peace and move at their own rhythm. Cameron put it simply: "I finally live life at my speed." Studies confirm that seniors who feel in control of their daily choices report lower stress and greater life satisfaction. Of course, living alone isn't right for everyone. Some men struggle when solitude is imposed by loss rather than choice. Healthy independence is very different from harmful isolation. Warning signs such as persistent sadness, declining health, or complete withdrawal should never be ignored. But for many men, choosing to live alone is a thoughtful, healthy decision, not a cry for help. Families often worry when older men prefer solitude. They fear depression or abandonment. Yet understanding the psychology behind this choice can replace fear with respect. Many older men aren't withdrawing from life, they're finally shaping it according to their values. Aging strips away illusions. It teaches that happiness doesn't always depend on partnership, and fulfillment doesn't always require romance. Sometimes it's found in quiet mornings, simple habits, and the freedom to be fully oneself without apology. Living alone as an older man is not a sad ending. For many, it's a well-earned season of calm, dignity, and emotional balance. Thank you for spending this time with Second Life Circle. If this message helped you see aging or your own life more clearly, please subscribe so we can continue sharing thoughtful, compassionate wisdom that honors independence, truth, and peace in later life.